Hey, Seth David here from the world-famous Nerd Enterprises Incorporated, and in this edition of Nerd's Guide to the Galaxy, I want to talk about community. What is community? Now, back on July 18, 2009, Chris Pirillo, who over the years has become somebody I've come to regard as a good friend, he uploaded a video to his YouTube channel. You can find that it's still there, called What is Community? In fact, recently, I'm long overdue producing a podcast interview I did with him for the Clear Your Cookies podcast, in which we talked about it. He said to this day he still sends that video to people that he talks to. And the reason all these years later that this video is relevant is because the concept of community is timeless, right? It doesn't change. You can change the technology that we use to build community, but community itself never changes at all, especially if you're sort of doing it right. You know, if you're doing it based on what lies at the center of any community. And well into Chris's video, he says it. He sums it up in one single word, and it's powerful. You should definitely watch his video because he says community is in the heart, right? This is where we align over common values and interests, and that's really how communities are built. So I can use Slack, Discord, Facebook, or any number of other apps that are out there that are designed to help you build communities. But if you haven't clearly defined what is in the heart of that community. In other words, that Venn diagram that Chris talks about in his video that I've included an example of in my write-up, where you have the circle over here that represents you, a circle over here that represents me, and a third circle that represents another member of the community. And it's that section where all three circles overlap that defines a particular community that we might all be a part of. It's that common set of values or beliefs or systems or interests that aligns us, and that's how community is built, but it is definitely in the heart. So if you're going to build a community, you have to define that. You have to define what is in the heart of this community. That way you're very clear. That way I'm very clear on my messaging. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you a brief tour of the new community platform that I'm using. And one of the core sort of principles behind this is, that over the years I've experimented with different things. Of course, a lot of people are using Facebook groups, and I've seen people go from Facebook groups, outside of Facebook groups, then back to Facebook groups because they're finding they're just getting better engagement in the Facebook groups. But you're getting that engagement. I'm going to go out here on a limb, stick my neck out. Somebody's going to want to chop my head off for saying this, even though I believe it's the truth. The reason we're getting better engagement in Facebook groups is it's for the wrong reasons, right? It's because Facebook has algorithms that are designed to ping you constantly with notifications to get you to feel compelled to come back in and check those notifications. And we all find them singularly annoying, and yet we give in to them, right? In fact, in some ways, it's fair to say we're addicted to it. Right? We're hooked on it. We can't help but click over when we see those notifications. It bothers our OCD when we see one of those red dots with like a number 5 in it, meaning, oh my God, I've got 5 new notifications. God forbid I don't check and see what those notifications are about. 4 out of the 5 of them are going to be a waste of time. There might be one where somebody's actually mentioned you or, where there's actually something to do or follow up on. Anyway, I digress. My point is, that I wanted to throw out the question, well, how would I build a community, let's say, outside of Facebook, where it's built for the right reasons, it's built around the right thing, which, again, is what's in the heart. How do I do that and still drive the engagement? Well, I'm going to attempt to illustrate that by example over the next, 6 months to a year, let's call it. But, every course that I do, every major course that I do, I attach a community to it because I think it's important. It's like a study group so that as you're going through the lessons, you can ask questions about whatever lesson you're on or whatever section you're in that course. And up until now, I've had them in Slack and I've had them in Discord, and I haven't found I got what I felt was great engagement. At the beginning when I launched e-commerce, for example, there was a ton of engagement, and then it kind of died off. And one of the things that has bugged me about it, I don't know if it bugs the users as much, but it has definitely bugged me, is the fact that you have your login at nerdenterprises.com and then you have to log into Slack or Discord. That in itself, I've noticed, caused a lot of confusion for people. I've gotten customer service inquiries from people where they're saying their logins don't work because they're thinking it's the same login that they use on nerdenterprises.com that they need to use for Slack or Discord, which, of course, you could choose to set it up that way, but system-wise, they're completely separate logins. So with that in mind, and when I happened to take a peek and see that Kajabi, the platform that's used to develop my site, they've had a community feature since I launched the original Bulletproof Bookkeeping Mastery course, but it was very sort of minimal, and I didn't like it. I tried it actually with that course, and again, zero engagement, and so I went to Slack with that and saw an immediate uptick in the engagement. One of the reasons Slack works well is we're all familiar with it. Right? So that's a big sort of hurdle that we have to get over when we're launching a community, especially if we're using a different kind of platform, because we have to get people familiar with it, which is why I'm going to give you the tour of our community product in just a couple of minutes here. But first, and before I dive into that, the ultimate, this underscores one of the ultimate objectives I have in doing this. I wanted to consolidate all of my communities, the free Guide to the Galaxy community where anybody without having to pay for a course can come in and join the conversation. So all of those people can be in one place on my website. And for that matter, if you've got 3 of my courses, each of which has their own community, all of those communities will also be found right here. So bottom line, you have one place to log into. And once you log into that, now you just have to know how to access the community and find what you're looking for. So with that in mind, let me show you exactly how to do it. So we've updated the website and the navigation fairly recently as of this recording. If you go to our Galaxy, you'll find kind of everything you need as part of the Guide to the Galaxy, all of our community related stuff. So here's the blog, here's the podcast. You can join by clicking here. If you've already joined, you can access it. The truth is, most of you by now won't need to click on the join, because if you've opted into my list any time recently since I set this up, you will automatically be granted access to the free community. And for the courses that I've got communities set up for here by now, you've been already granted access to those communities automatically. So most likely you won't need this link. I'll probably remove it from the navigation to avoid confusion later. But in the beginning, I wanted to have it here just in case somebody who didn't happen to have automatically been granted access, could get the access. So I'll click here now, and it will take us over to the communities page. So this is the community. Of course, it's going to look slightly different for you because I'm the admin and the owner of the Guide to the Galaxy. But I want to show you a few really important navigational things that may or may not be obvious. And since some of you are more inclined than others to play with things, for the sake of those of you who are afraid to break something, I'll show you exactly what you can click on and how it works. So notice next to here where it says Nerd's Guide to the Galaxy, there's a little up arrow, right? And over here you've got this little description I wrote. You can click on this and it will collapse that section, okay? Now you get into the communities, okay? Now in this particular platform, they're called circles, okay? So here's the Galaxy, the free community. Notice I can zip this up. Okay, here's Bulletproof Notion, which none of you have yet because that's for my upcoming program that I'm not going to be releasing till later this year. Here's Bulletproof Bookkeeping Mastery. So I've already announced in the Slack channel for Bulletproof Bookkeeping Mastery that this is the new community space. So some of you are starting to come over here and join in. And over here, what I've done, rather than clutter up the navigation with tons and tons of circles, again, as they're called, they're kind of like channels in Slack. In Slack, I had a separate channel for each lesson. What I'm doing here is I'm making it broader where I'll have a circle, which is like a channel, for each section, right? So you'll have, if I click here, expenses, vendors, and accounts payable. That's a whole section in the course where there are several lessons within that. So any questions you have about any lesson in this section can be asked here. If you ever want clarification on these, while you're in here, you can click this down arrow, or just click on the title rather, and you can see like an expanded description, right? And you can see I've already got 261 people in here, so we're making headway getting people kind of transferred over, right? Over here is the kind of welcome circle. So this is for just general conversation, water cooler chat type stuff, and also where I encourage you to come and introduce yourself if you haven't already done so. Right? And then you can scroll up and down over here and navigate. Now, one thing, it's a complaint I have, but nothing I have any control over yet, is the order of the circles. Normally, I would want them in the order in which they appear in the course, so like banking and bank feeds would be first. Unfortunately, I have no control over that. The software seems to be designed to show the circles that have the most recent activity at the top, right? So here we've got Angela's post. That's the most recent thing. So that's what's going to show up at the top. In some ways that makes sense. And this way, at least when you get here, you know you can focus on where the most recent activity is. But unfortunately, if you're looking for the right category to post your questions in, it may not be clear or obvious like where to go to find that. So bottom line, if you're not sure, the one thing you can do for sure is go to the general one, which I have way down here, general Q&A. So this is kind of like if I can't find the place to post my question, or if I'm not sure which category it should go into or which circle it should go into, just ask it here, and I can certainly redirect anyone to the appropriate circle, or if I feel it will be helpful, I can create that circle. The rest of this is very straightforward. It's very standard in terms of how you would do. Obviously, you can write your post. You can add a photo or a video to include screenshots, right? And then you click post. It's pretty straightforward and simple. That's one of the things I like about this. The other thing that's cool about this, I'll skip over the challenges because I'm not really that into that sort of thing, but I can do meetups here, which is pretty cool, and I've got what's called a live room set up. So when the time comes and I'm ready to start doing that kind of stuff, I will certainly make announcements and let everyone know. But you'll get a notification sent via email, and again, the only place you'll have to worry about logging into is my site. And if you're already logged in because you're in the habit of, getting in here and watching my lessons, then that's my hope, of course. But then you won't have to worry. You'll just click on the link in the notification. It'll take you right over if I wanted to do like a live broadcast. So I definitely plan on taking advantage of some of these features and doing a lot more of that stuff. And going back to the sort of bigger topic of what is community, because you may be wondering, because I posed the question, so what is my community all about? Where do those circles in our Venn diagram intersect? I could tell you accounting and technology, but these days, especially given there's a million communities out there on Facebook and elsewhere, I'm going to have to do a little better. I'm going to have to be more specific than that, and it's going to be up to me. It's going to be my job to, as I mentioned in the write-up, write out a very clear and concise description for myself, very specific, going very deep, identifying exactly who my community is, who my tribe is, if you will, and then making sure that that comes out very clearly in my messaging, in the messages that I send to you and to everybody else whom I'm inviting into the community. And I'll end on this note because I started off by saying community is in the heart, right? So my job really is to develop this, and a lot of people will use this phrase a lot, and it's one of those phrases that gets, frankly, overused a little bit. People will talk about, I have my heart-centered community, which is nice. It sounds nice. It sounds a little fluffy, but the reality is it's superficial. We have to go deeper than that. We can't just say it's a heart-centered community. We have to define what is in the heart of that community. What is it based on? Maybe you and I both like to sit in coffee shops and read books. Great, that's common ground. That's something we could talk about. That's something we can build a community based on. To say I'm going to build a community based on accounting and tech, well, that's not much different than about a million other communities, as I said, that are already out there. So my job is going to be to get much more specific than that. Of course, the obvious front, the first sort of circle around my community is going to be for the people who are taking my courses and the communities that are associated with those courses specifically. And like I said, I'd like to think of these as like a study group where you can ask questions, and it's not just me giving the answers, but others in the community will start to chime in, hopefully, eventually, and also provide answers like we've done in Slack. But I expect it's going to take a little bit of time and some adjustment because people have to get used to a new platform. It's not as familiar as Slack, like most of you probably had, plenty of time in different Slack workspaces. So this is new. It's a little different, but hopefully, my hope is that you'll find it to be a relief that once and for all, you have one place to go for all of the Nerd Enterprises related communities, which of course is at nerdenterprises.com. And once you're logged into my site there, you'll see these communities actually indicated there in your course library. They'll show up as another course or kind of product in your course library. So that's another way you can access them. But like I showed you, I wanted to build it right into the top navigation on the website so that if you're looking for the community, I want to encourage you to. I want to make it as easy as I can. So with all of that said, and as always, if you have any questions, the perfect place would be in the Galaxy Free community in the general discussion and just ask away. I also created this circle, which I thought was kind of clever and handy, where it's literally if you're looking for something. So if there's something you're looking for on my site or anywhere that you think should exist in my galaxy and you can't for the life of yourself find it, don't waste time, don't sweat it, don't stress about it. Just come in here, ask the question. I can probably find whatever you're looking for you in 30 seconds or less. It could even be some video you've seen of mine on YouTube and you don't remember what it was called, so you're having trouble finding it. Come in here, write up a description of the video you're looking for. I can almost guarantee you that I can find it for you in about 30 seconds and then post a reply with the link to save you the time and trouble of having to hunt around for it. And I am happy to do that. My job is to make it ridiculously easy for you to access and absorb and consume my content so that hopefully my content will help make your life easier by making it, faster and making it easier to understand how to do the things you need to do in order to achieve maximum operational efficiency in your business. And there's a key phrase that underscores what's really at the heart of my community is helping you achieve maximum operating efficiency. And as always, I hope you had some fun here, learned something along the way. I hope you do get into the community and participate as soon as possible. And I look forward to interacting with you in there. Plus, as always, I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you in the galaxy.